G'day guys, and welcome back to another One Piece deck profile. Today we're coming at you with another budget profile, and we're doing a budget profile of our brand new starter deck, Big Mom Pirates, the yellow starter deck. And what we mean by budget is basically we're doing two of those starter decks combined together, the most optimal deck that we've come up with for that kind of play. Now in today's profile, we're going to try and group cards together that have similar effects, that synergize well together, just to make it as easy as we can for you to understand how to play with the new color, especially for you new players that are coming in with this brand new set. We would love to hear your feedback on the deck profile, what you like, what you don't like. If you do like it though, give it a thumbs up while you're there as well, and consider subscribing to the channel. Plenty of One Piece content coming your way here. Right, enough talking head, let's move on to looking at the deck. All right, let's begin by taking a look at our leader, Charlotte Linlin. So 5,000 power, 5 life, standard for your mono leaders right now. And the effect is Don ×2. When attacking, you can add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. Then the other part of the effect is if you have 2 or less life cards, you can add 1 card from your hand to the top of your life. So that first bit is a great bit of draw power. Just keep in mind, if you do it when you have 5 or 4 life or more than that, you're just going to neg yourself a life to get that draw. But if you trigger that effect when you have 3 or less life, you'll be able to replace a card from your hand at the top of your life. And there are a few cards that we want to see at the top of our life, some really good triggers. Get to play some really cool cards for free. And there's some really good ones that synergize with our leader. All right, next up, we want to talk about a card that synergizes fairly well with our leader as well. Has fairly similar effect, which is the stage card for the deck, which is Queen Mama Chanter. So it costs you 2. The activate main, you can rest the stage card and 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. So similar to our leader's first part of the ability there. The second part is you can add 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the top of the owner's life face up. So just to clarify a few things here with this one. The second part is not mandatory, so you can rest, take the life, and not do anything else. The other part is when it talks about a character with a cost of 3 to the top of your life, that character has to be in play, can't be from your hand, and must cost exactly 3. Can't be 3 or less, has to be exactly 3. And the trigger for this card is just to play it, which is really nice. And we'll go over some cards that we can specifically trigger with the stage card back into our life, which we can then play out for free, but we'll talk about those in just a moment. The other card that the deck mainly plays around is your big boss monster in Charlotte Linlin. So this is the character. So 7 cost, 8,000 power, no counter. The effect is on play, your opponent chooses one of the following. They can either trash one of their own life, or they can let you recover 1 from the top of your deck to the top of your life. So really great. Keep it in mind, if you do play it when your opponent has 0 life, it's still their choice. They can still choose to trash one of their own life, but if they've got nothing there, nothing happens. So your character Linlin can be really great for that, especially if you see a few of them in a row. Big body there as well. But the other important thing that we need to take note of is the name Charlotte Linlin. So there's a couple of cards which we'll talk about next, which synergize really well with both the character and the leader Charlotte Linlin. All right, first up, we want to talk about Zeus. So Zeus is a 3 cost 3,000 body, 1,000 counter. Activate main, you can rest this character. Up to 1 of your Charlotte Linlin cards gains banish for the turn. So it doesn't specify character or leader, so which means it can trigger on both the leader and your big boss, Charlotte Linlin. And the trigger is to play this for free. So it is also a 3 cost. So your stage card can recycle it. So say if you have it out, you rest it to give 1 of your Charlotte Linlins that banish. And then it's most likely going to get swung into, but you can trigger your stage card to then pop it back at the top of your life. So just nice recycle. Your opponent swings in at life, it plays out for free again, which is really, really nice. Now, if you do see it in your hand and you don't want to play it for that 3 cost, you can put it up there with your leader's ability from your hand to your life. That's something else that works fairly well. The next card, very, very similar. We are running 4 of Prometheus. So Prometheus, exact same stat lines as Zeus. The only difference in the effect is instead of giving it banish, instead of giving you Charlotte Linlin banish, it gains a double attack off your Prometheus. So everything you can do to recycle, get it in your life, you can do exactly for Prometheus. And it's really great if you can get both of these out at the same time. Next up, we have another 3 cost character which we can recycle with our chanter, that this is Brûlé. So Brûlé, 3 cost, 1000 power, 1000 counter. It is a blocker and it has a trigger just to play it out for free, which is really nice. So having a blocker that plays out of life as a trigger is really, really great. So say if you have your Brûlé out, it gets rested or something, say you're coming against green, they love to rest stuff, and then you can just recycle it with your stage card there. You can also pop it in your life with your Charlotte Linlin there as well. The next card we're running is probably the last one you really want to try and get into your life, is a event card, the Soul Pocus. So it's a 5 cost. The main effect is exactly the same as the character Charlotte Linlin effect. It allows your opponent to choose to trash a card from their own life, or for them to let you to recover something back to your own life there. The trigger is exactly the same as the main, which is why it's really good to try and get that in your life through your leader's ability. Right, next up we're going to talk about some cards that allow us to get some good information of what's in our life and in our opponent's life. The first that we are running a playset of Pudding. So 2 cost, 3000 body, 2000 counter, the only 2000 counter we have access to in the starter deck, so we're automatically going to be playing a full playset. The on plays, you can look at the top card of your life or your opponent's life, and then you can place it at the top or the bottom. So that bit of knowledge you gain from this on play effect can be really good. Allows you to make sure that you're having some good stuff at the top of your life. Allows you to also dictate what your opponent's going to have at certain points of the game. Sometimes you want to leave your opponent with not so good resources towards the end game, which can be quite helpful because yellow is a bit of a slower, grindy play style. And sometimes you just want the opposite. You want them to have some not so great cards to help you set up early game so you're not being pushed with aggression, depending on your matchup. But most of the time, Pudding is just used as a 2k counter in hand. The next one that we're running is a full playset of Katakuri. So 4 cost, 6000 body, no counter. The on play is exactly the same as the Pudding. You can look at the top card of yours or your opponent's life, then you can place it at the top or the bottom. The other part of the effect is then if you have less life than your opponent, this card gains Rush. So 6k Rush attacker is really handy to have, especially when you are behind in the game, which is the only time you can trigger the Rush effect. The last card that we're running that allows us to have a little sneaky peek at some life cards is Power Mochi. So it is a 1 cost counter, allows you to look at the top of your or your opponent's life, and then you can place it at the top of the bottom, very similar to all the other effects we've just read. The second part is it then buffs one of your characters or leaders by 2000 during the battle. The trigger allows you to draw a card, and then you can do the look at the life thing again. So as I mentioned before, these cards are really handy, can help you really dictate what your opponent has access to at different points in the game, or can just make sure that you're getting the cards that you need if your hand's not that fantastic. Alright, so we've spoken about cards that can help you decide what's at the top or the bottom of your life. Next up, we're going to look at some cards that gain effects when you take cards from your life. The first that we're running a full playset of Daifuku. So it's 4 cost, 5000 body, 1000 counter. Effect is Don times 1 when attacking. You can add 1 card from the top or the bottom of your life to your hand, and then you can add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. So basically just a fancy way to draw a card, but instead of drawing from your deck, you're drawing from your life and just replacing that with something from the top of your deck there. So really good to see, just to help with that draw power. You can get off multiple times if it survives. Really great for that hand consistency. The next one that we are running just 2 of Snack. So 5 cost, 6000 body, no counter, which is why we're leaning to more of the 2 rather than 3 or a full playset. The effect is Don times 1 when attacking. Add a card from the top or the bottom of your life to your hand. Then this character gains Banish and 1000 power during the turn. So whenever you trigger that effect, you're swinging for 8000, which is nice and beefy. And that Banish can also be quite handy as well. So for those that don't know, Banish, when you successfully swing in through at life, instead of your opponent adding that card to their hand, it just goes straight to the trash. The last card that we're running that's based around that draw card from your life is probably butchered that hardcore, but is a 3 cost, 4000 body, 1000 counter. activate main, you rest this character, add 1 card from the top or the bottom of your life to your hand, then you can KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less. So a great form of removal that we have access to in the deck. Does come at that negging yourself 1 life, but one of the only forms of removal that we have access to from the starter deck. So it is quite good to run that. There are a few little bodies running around that can be quite nasty, and good just to remove it without having to swing into anything. The trigger is you may trash 1 card from your hand to play this card. So you are needing yourself to kind of play it to get it out there, but sometimes you just need an extra body on board to get that finishing blow or to get some good board control. So sometimes that trigger is quite good. Sometimes it is something you avoid because you want to keep your hand size nice and big. All right, running out the deck, we're going to have a look at the vanillas that we've got in here. So we are running just 2 of the Anana. So 1 cost 3,000 body, 1,000 counter, just a nice vanilla there. Really good to have if you're going first, because it's always nice to have something to play when your opponent makes you go first. And can be good late game, just get an extra body out on board for nice and cheap. And the last card that we're running a full play set of our Pecomps. So 3 cost, 5,000 body, 1,000 counter. The reason why we run the 5,000 power vanilla here is just because it's the cheapest one you can get out that doesn't require a Don buff to swing in at leader. You can run the 4 cost 6,000 one here if you do want to run that instead, but I just prefer this just because it's cheaper to get something out that can swing and do damage the very next turn. Alrighty, there is the deck in all of its glory. Thank you so much for checking out the video. If you do want to see some gameplay of it, let us know in the comment section down below. We have some of that ready to rock and roll if you do want to see that. Otherwise, let us know in the comment section below what you think. But thank you so much for checking out the video again. Stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.